In the previous parts, in thinking about creating safe environments, we've talked about the importance of respecting the world. We've talked about the importance of honoring one another. And in the last part, we talked about the importance of suspending judgment. Now I'd like us to talk about the fourth way of creating safe environments. Value your differences. When we value our differences, instead of using those differences to be the reason for fighting one another, we create a safe environment. When two people are in conflict, they point to their differences as the source of the conflict. It's very interesting in many African countries, and I can speak more about Kenya. We have a lot of intertribal marriages. When love is the motivation, you can scale any wall. But every election year, people retreat into their tribal cocoons, or they don't say so, but they vote along tribal lines. So somehow politics have a way of bringing out our differences, but marriage and love has a way of bridging those differences. We need to choose to be the people of love, even in times of politics. Value your differences. Use them to build up one another instead of using them to tear down one another. Differences are a blessing if we know how to deal with them and capitalize on them. By working with differences, you both feel like winners. You discover more about each other. Talking about intertribal marriages, there are different ways that people prepare different foods. And if your wife does not fix your ugali the way you like it, be fascinated by the way she fixes it, and then teach her to fix it the way you like it. And now there'll be two ways of fixing ugali in that home. Instead of saying there's only one way of doing it, find out, she's grown up so many years without you and has fixed that ugali that particular way and enjoyed it. You might as well learn the differences and enjoy one another. You see, a relationship must make room for all of both of you. Both people must feel safe in that relationship for the environment to continue thriving. If one person feels unsafe, if one person always feels criticized, the relationship will not thrive. Think of two people who irritate you the most. What specifically about them irritates you? Very often, when someone else's behavior irritates you, take a look inside yourself. It's possible that you may be guilty of a very similar thing that irritates in the other person. When others reveal the imperfections within us, we feel very irritated. So what if your spouse irritates you? What if she is lazy? What if he is lazy? What if they are clumsy? What if they smell? What if they mismanage money? Continuously criticizing them along these lines will not automatically resolve those issues. When we value the people, value the differences, try to understand why they do what they do, and very often it is related to the disappointments in their lives in their growing up years. When we try to understand that, then we can help to pull them out of their shell. When people are wounded, they don't need to be criticized. They need a safe environment to heal. Then they can begin to function well. Suspend judgment, value the good, value the differences, create a safe environment, and see what happens. The fifth and last point we'll be looking at is to be trustworthy. When we are trustworthy with others, we dedicate ourselves to treating them as the valuable and vulnerable people that they are. When we are trustworthy with ourselves, we act in ways consistent with our own value or vulnerability. Be trustworthy in handling with care those entrusted to your care. You see, within each person, there is something with value. But that something is vulnerable and easily damaged and easily devalued. Trustworthiness is recognizing the value of a person and treating them accordingly. Dad, are your children's secrets safe with you? Mom, are your children's secrets safe with you? Do you talk to neighbors and relatives about the struggles of your children? Do they overhear you talking about their struggles? Do they feel uncomfortable visiting their cousins because they'll overhear the stories in your house repeated in that home? Your husband's self-esteem, your child's self-esteem, your wife's self-esteem can be at an all-time low if the person is continuously being criticized. Your child needs your help. They need your understanding, not your rebuke. You see, trustworthiness requires that we have a healthy view first of ourselves. How do you respond, for example, when you're asked for a bribe by the policeman? How do you respond when the shopkeeper gives you too much change and you know that nobody else saw it? You have to trust yourself and take it back even if no one else saw it. The scripture asks a question: can a man hide himself in hiding places so I do not see him, declares the Lord? Do I not feel the heavens and the earth? You see, if I can't trust myself to remember how valuable and how vulnerable I am, then my whole well-being depends on other people remembering how vulnerable I am. So, for example, I don't take peanuts. Why not? Because I discovered that they cause me to have a nosebleed. Now, it is up to me to remember to check the ingredients in a piece of chocolate to make sure that it doesn't have peanuts. I have to trust myself when no one else is watching to not eat chocolate without looking at the ingredients. So if I can't be trustworthy with myself, I cannot easily trust others or expect others to trust me. Will your children come to you with their mistakes and still feel loved no matter what? What if your 14-year-old is on pornography and your 12-year-old daughter discovers it? Do you have the kind of environment in the home where your 12-year-old can persuade the 14-year-old to come home, to come to you, Dad, and tell you the challenge they are facing? Will those children feel safe to pour out their hearts to you? During this COVID season, there's news around that 12,000 teenagers in Nairobi got pregnant. That's a lot of teenagers. Behind every one of those teenagers, there's a young man. So it's not just 12,000 teenagers, it's actually 12,000 homes. Some of them are because of incest, and some of them the young man is from outside the home, so you probably have 24,000 homes affected. If that was your teenager and you discover she's pregnant, how do you react? Remember, no amount of screaming will make her unpregnant. If you discover that your son smoked marijuana, how do you react? No amount of screaming will make him unsmoke the marijuana. We need to deal with the issue while retaining the relationship. When people feel safe with us, they open up and connections happen. Your child will tell you exactly what happened. Don't be too concerned about the specific issue. Be concerned about the repeat of that issue. Be concerned about taking care of the environment that does not lead to a repeat of that issue. If you are anxious, if you are fearful, if you're dreading to be rejected, it's easy to create a toxic environment wherever you go, resulting in the fulfillment of the fear of rejection. Let me urge you, Dad, to be the change agent in your relationships by creating a safe environment, and watch your spouse, watch your daughters, watch your sons thrive within the home.